It's been a year since the last Cinepunks episode. How did we get here? What happened in between? How did Daniel get trapped in the computer? Why do I have this thing on my face? And to think, only 2 days ago, I just wanted to shove liquid marijuana up my nose.
Who's there?
Your favorite taxi service, Red Rover.
Oh, come in, come in.
I got you what you wanted. Liquid marijuana, a premium crew. Very expensive.
Oh, shit.
So, are you going to pay me?
What is this thing?
Dave, where the hell have you been?
Wow, Daniel, how'd you get inside my computer screen?
What? How could you not remember? You put me in here for the Johnny Mnemonic review!
Oh. We're not doing that anymore.
I've been in here for a year, you fragger! What are we gonna review now? How are you gonna get me out of here?
How about this?
Alrighty, but you have a lot of explaining to do. A lot.
What the hell's going on?
And so we had to review the bizarre, forgotten 1997 Italian cyberpunk film Nirvana. I didn't want to, but my roommate whined at me from the computer screen. Reality cannot bear the weight of such whining. More importantly, he wouldn't go away, so I couldn't play games anymore. Games, yes. That brings us to Nirvana.
You gotta do a lot of explaining. And I mean a lot.
Nirvana is the story of Jimmy Deaney, played by Christopher Lambert, the motherfucking Highlander himself. His quest to help solo a video game character of his own creation who has become self-aware, and to figure out why his wife Lisa left him over a year ago. Jimmy discovers 2 days before his next hit video game, Nirvana, is released, that the lead character, Solo, has become self-aware due to being infected by a virus.
I checked through the processing unit of your computer. I'm afraid there's a virus, Jimmy.
What? There's a virus going around?
All right, just tell me the inconvenience this virus has caused.
It has infected the main character of your game, giving him a sort of awareness. It induces him to play without responding to your commands, as if he had a true identity.
Identity my ass. You ever been the lead in a video game that tears you to pieces?
Solo challenges his creator to free him via the only means available: deletion.
This will require hacking into the company servers of Okasama Star, who Jimmy works for. To do this, he's going to need the help of what this world calls angels. Hackers who can go from place to place on the net without fear of the megacorps. However, his only lead is to follow the path that Lisa went on a year ago. A path that leads into the depths of Marrakesh and a fallen angel named Joystick.
It's a big conglomerate we live in, Jimmy. Good. These damn things keep clouding up. Got a handkerchief, Jimmy? Can't see shit. Thanks, huh? You know, you gotta be careful. Humidity causes short circuits.
How long have you had them?
5 years, Jimmy. It's 5 years now. This place is full of people that sell kidneys, lungs, you know, spare parts. I'd have sold my dick too if the price wasn't so low.
Cards on the table, we fucking love this movie, flaws and all. The characters are fun, the setting is gorgeous, and in an era where sci-fi is slogging through adaptation after adaptation, it's really still a breath of fresh air even all these years later. Almost 20 years now, in fact, since it was made. And even when modern films try to do something original, they often feel hopelessly derivative in comparison to Nirvana.
Everyone that industry and government could coalesce and work in.
The thing that makes us love this film is also what will probably turn a lot of people off to it. It's really fucking weird.
Yes, Nirvana is an odd beast, one that never quite fully takes a concrete form. The main themes tackled in this work are memory, existence, and what defines an individual. Through Jimmy, we see the conflict he has been experiencing since his wife Lisa left him 1 year ago, a conflict between Jimmy's self-centered and idealized memory and the reality of the situation. The main focal point of the first part of this journey is a video diary entry that Lisa left Jimmy before she departed.
It's as if you had trapped me in one of your games. I know you try to make me happy. I need to find a way to escape this feeling inside. I can't wait, Jimmy. I'm fading. I wanted to tell you I'm going to Marrakesh to Joystick.
The acting and direction of this video diary are impeccable, and constructed in such a way that Jimmy's idealized past is entirely believable, but you cannot accept it fully without something feeling off. Lisa's expression is a little too forced, and her voice is just slightly strained. All of the little ticks required to believe that this person was putting on a good face to spare Jimmy the heartbreak that would certainly come are there.
And one day, you'll come and find the tub. You'll pull the plug, and water will drain away, and me with it.
As Jimmy continues to work through his broken heart by following the journey Lisa began a year ago, he explores new and increasingly bizarre and gorgeous locations, which seems fitting given the way most of his internal processing is presented to the audience.
Glared at me from his world. Reality cannot sustain the weight of such a stare. The mind alone is not enough to comprehend.
The film shows us what Jimmy is thinking and experiencing, primarily through narration performed by Christopher Lambert. Narration has a spotty history, and there are a few places this is more evident than in cyberpunk film. The US theatrical release of Blade Runner. But in Nirvana, it is used quite effectively.
Was it fondness or compassion? What exactly did I sense? Did I feel for that creature while myself conceived? I thought I had made him amusing, but he never once made me laugh.
The somewhat self-indulgent and poetic language used in this narration allow us a look into the odd beauty of what it means to be sentient, and more specifically, what it means to be Jimmy. Without the amazing imagery and clever allusions, the existentialist message of the film would not set in as well. That message is at times almost absurdist, in a Camus sense, mind you, not in a the stuff sense.
Oh, come on, move it on in.
Not till we talk about money.
Hey, it's all settled.
I kind of like the sight of blood. Well, this is disgusting.
By forcing the audience to translate the way Jimmy thinks about these subjects, the film forces them to determine how they would discuss these topics as well. Through this method, Nirvana not only encourages the audience to examine their own existence, but also how another person views theirs. That is to say nothing of what it is like to examine a truly alien consciousness, one that is distinctly not human, and knows it.
I don't exist, and you don't either. Nothing that surrounds you here exists. Don Nicola, the pizza, the wine, this house, it's all an illusion. We're just puppets. Our actions are out of our control.
In the film, Solo was granted self-awareness through a mysterious virus. This is never really explained, probably because any serious consideration of the idea renders it quite silly. But luckily, how he achieves sentience is unimportant of the context of the story and our analysis. What is important are the implications of a self-aware creature being trapped in an endless and false world, the only creature who is aware within it. His fate is a unique concept in science fiction, as are his desires, and conceptually he demonstrates an interesting aspect of our own existence. But first, some background.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
Solo is a form of embodied artificial life. Rather than being an abstract AI or general-purpose intelligence, he is closer to a clone or android, even if he is purely virtual. The history of such artificial life is much older than people realize. This goes all the way back to the earliest writings of humanity with creatures such as the golem, and even back then engineers tried to create automata. Always, though, they are viewed as less than human. The word robot even originates from words for humans beneath others, like serf.
I didn't mean to kill him. It was Fancy Jacket who got in the way. I was only trying to change the outcome. But you're all too damn rigid, like that goon with the orange hair. Whatever they tell you, your answer's yes. Don't any of you ever question anything?
Relax, friend. Can't we discuss this calmly, without the gun?
Solo is part of a more modern idea of the android, or the indistinguishable artificial life. His closest relative is probably the residents of Star Trek's holodecks, specifically those few who have become self-aware, like the Doctor, Vic Valentine, or Moriarty. Moriarty in particular is relevant, as he wishes to escape his confines as a virtual being. But unlike Solo, he does not wish to do so through oblivion, but through becoming real.
Exactly. Is the definition of life cogito ergo sum? I think, therefore I am.
Yes, that is one possible definition.
It is the most important one. And for me, the only one that matters. You or someone asked your computer to program a nefarious fictional character from 19th century London, and that is how I arrived. But I am no longer that creation. I am no longer that evil character. I have changed. I am alive, and I am aware of my own consciousness.
Moriarty, my responsibility is this vessel and its crew.
I want my existence. I want it out there, just as you have yours.
That may not be possible.
Then you must murder me, Captain.
I cannot give you what you want.
Because you do not know how to convert holodeck matter into a more permanent form.
Yes, that is so.
A pity. What I have seen, what I have learned, fascinates me. I do not want to die.
Picard in that episode asks a question, largely in self-aware jest, that Solo also asks. Perhaps our reality is just as false as theirs. Or rather, perhaps we are just as false as they are.
You think you lead a real life? Take a look around. Oh, sure, you probably have lots of nice things, beautiful house. But what if everything you see didn't exist, huh? If it was like where I am, if you were like me. You know, the only thing I cannot do in here, I cannot stop playing. But you can. So stop playing, Jimmy.
Moving from Solo to the human characters of this piece, the theme of memory is further explored when our protagonists run into my favorite character, Naima. Naima is a top-tier hacker, one of the few who could possibly help to crack Okasama Star's servers. She is also a challenge to the overall absurd worldview of this future.
It's not that I don't need money, but I have other reasons for what I do.
Such as?
Karma yoga. Action, you know? For always giving the utmost, outwitting the impossible. To a better universe.
Karma Yoga, the belief in the power of enacting change through action. In a world as stagnant as this one, her beliefs and the effort she takes to act upon them make her an outsider to some and deify her to others. She also possesses the technology required to unlock Lisa's memories, which have been stored on an eidetic microchip.
Lisa died 4 months ago. What? She was already ill when she came here. She was here for 6 months. We were working well and she seemed quite happy. When her condition got worse, we decided to link up with each other. She would upload me entire segments of her life. This is Lisa's memory, her fears, her desires, her senses. It's an Ayurvedic microchip.
Once Naima loads this microchip into her psychic port, she has access to everything that makes Lisa, Lisa. Through these memories and feelings, Naima begins to both help Jimmy process Lisa's absence and challenge his flawed views of the past. As Naima works with Jimmy, it becomes clear that she is falling for him. Jimmy visibly has trouble with this fact, and Naima often has to remind him that she is her own person and not merely a renewed Lisa. This comes to a head during the conclusion of the piece.
I wanted to ask you, did you really love me?
Who were you asking?
I asked Lisa.
This scene not only cements the film's theme of memory, it highlights the difference between Jimmy's absurd character and Naima's karma yoga-inspired character perfectly. Jimmy is unable to relinquish the past, even once he has been confronted with reality and has every reason to move forward. He is stuck in the cycle of absurd futility, a point that is only further cemented when the entire film rewinds at extreme speed after the closing scene in which Jimmy presumably gets himself shot. He took Camus' first option, suicide, while trying to enact change in a static world, and Nirvana wants us to know that his focus and action merely represent another part of the cycle, and not a clean break from it. This is not the case, however, with Solo.
Alright, if we're inside of a game, what's on the outside?
The winners and losers. Reality.
Well, couldn't they be trapped in a game instead of us?
You know, you have a point. Bravo.
Solo is another in a long line of characters that use their artificial nature to make us question our own. From Idoro to Blade Runner, the presence of life which we created, which we can see the strings on, always subtly asks us, are you so sure there are no strings on you? Even Dark City, a film which is only tangentially related to cyberpunk, asks this question. Not just, is your world real, but are you real? Are your memories, those things you use to construct your identity, really something that can be trusted as evidence that you are who you think you are?
Yeah.
What, yeah?
Alright, who are you? How'd you get my number?
I found your number in my pocket, and I'm just not sure who you are. In fact, I don't even know who I am. What is all this?
Solo is a being without memory before he became self-aware. He appears to have a low-grade form of amnesia in Nirvana, the game, not the movie, likely a storytelling device Jimmy used to allow the player to view Solo as their avatar more easily and enhance the mystery, a cliché storytelling tactic. But Solo does have personality and easily grasps many concepts, including his own fate, rather quickly. In Blade Runner terms, this makes him more like a Rachel than a Roy, a being created with predispositions rather than a blank slate. This helps make him a compelling character, certainly, and also allows the film to skip over the standard tropes of a computerized being becoming self-aware. But those predispositions that Jimmy gave him may, in the end, merely make his fate all the more tragic. Jimmy deleting Solo would have been easy to accept if he was a classic AI gone rogue. But because he is a good-natured, humorous fellow, with a sympathetic fate, his deletion, while ultimately what he wants, is quite disheartening nonetheless. It is an interesting look at what might happen if AI was birthed not into an open-ended system, but a closed one, with parameters that make it anthropomorphic. Even then, there is still something quite frightening about it.
Our world ends here. They would like us to believe that we live in a world as big as an ocean. But in reality, we are only fish in a bowl.
But more than the science fiction implications, Solo's situation is also a salient representation of what many existentialists view our own to be. It is easy to see the influence of Albert Camus and his analysis of Sisyphus and Solo, of the absurdity of existence. Camus challenges us to find reasons not to just end our suffering, but to revel in that absurdity. And this option was certainly open to Solo. He could have played his part in the game, tried to follow it to completion, tried to see how far he could go in this pseudo-reality. We are restricted by limits no matter where we look. It would not be reductive to say that these are the parameters of the game we live in, provided those parameters are nebulous. Our biology dictates needs and sets a cap on the amount of time we play. Our brains have limits to what they can know, and are filled with impulses placed on us through evolution that, while once may have been beneficial, are now quite harmful both to us and others. Society is also a set of parameters and rules, in place to punish those who act outside of them, whether that be the breaking of a law or a social taboo. Anyone who has studied Saussure or any ideology-based critique knows how hard it can be to think outside of the confines of a language or culture.
But just for a second, follow my reasoning. We are not able to make choices. They are made for us. And if we do this or that, it is not our doing. We are a pastime, a game, a silly toy. If we keep killing each other, we're playing into their hands. That's what they want, to send us back to go. I think I convinced them.
Rico! Even in rejecting ideas, we are still bound to them by the process, as by trying to move opposite to them still allows them to set our path. And a cursory glance over the history of humanity shows that even when the game changes, it doesn't actually change that much, and rarely do individuals benefit from it. The game is asymmetrical, with some on top benefiting from the rules more, but make no mistake, they are still a part of that game, still just as much prisoners of the rules, just less so. If one can entertain this worldview, one can see exactly the plight of Solo. And if you've ever tried to convince someone else to see such a worldview, you know his plight doubled over. He tries desperately to convince Maria of the falseness of their world, but she cannot accept it. All we can do then in such a situation is to try and find what joy there is, reveling in the absurdity of our existence. This is the dilemma Solo and many other artificial life forms bring to the viewer.
You killed the Sicilian. Go take a flying fuck, you and that Yakuza. I've had about enough of you.
It is not good for you if you go away.
But whether or not he did try to embrace his situation, he would still be stuck with one fact. As he puts it, he can never stop playing. Unlike humans, he has no ability to opt out of life should the absurdity of his existence become too much, and that is why he asks his creator for death. Like a Lovecraftian protagonist, the knowledge he has gleaned of his place in the universe is too much, and rather than continue never being able to escape it, he decides to end it right then and there.
Don't be mad. I know. I was a bit emphatic, but if I can't argue with the only real person, the only real friend I'll ever have, then I'm really a blank.
Nirvana is not a 101 course or a beginner's guide. It tells you everything you need to know to follow the story, but it does not attempt to teach you absurdism, existentialism, or even the basis of what it means to be a cyberpunk story. This is part of the reason why we love it so much, but it also means that this piece is not easy to get into.
The hookup is neuroelectronic. It's a bitch. A real brain boiler.
We were able to pick it up rather quickly, but that is mostly because we have sliced out large chunks of our lives in order to steep ourselves in cyberpunk fiction and philosophy. While this didn't do wonders for our social lives, it does mean that we were on familiar ground with this film. I do not speak of this to discourage anyone from watching Nirvana. In fact, I believe it makes the film an even more valuable piece of art. This is just meant as a warning that the first half of your first watch may be a bit confusing.
For those who may not know, cyberpunk is a genre often typified by the phrase high-tech, low-life. It's a future where technology has significantly increased while social welfare has significantly decreased.
Get the meat.
The corporations tend to be in control, leaving those on the bottom to languish often. They mostly turn to crime or some other sort of gray market activity in order to survive.
Hey, Donna, can I get anything from you?
Yeah, how much?
10.
10?
Yeah, I'm hurting really bad. I'll pay you back later.
Yeah, okay. Say, day after tomorrow?
Sooner?
I'll come by later. Like around 8?
Yeah. I'll see you later.
Okay. All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
And the conceit is that rather than in the golden age of science fiction, for instance, which was where you had the most upstanding or scientific heroic characters tackling these huge issues that science fiction brings up, instead you have those at the bottom of the socioeconomic spectrum, those with muddy pasts, those in different circumstances, often more diverse casts, though sadly not as often as we would like, tackling these huge issues like AI and posthumanism and things like that.
Oh, by the way, Rauschenberg.
Yeah?
I could use some credit chips, so, you know, my friend here doesn't have to show his.
Boy, are you in luck.
Bonafide.
Listen to this one.
Oh.
One of our guys got himself hired in a restaurant chain as one of them head cashier types. A real good friend of mine.
Beyond the ingrained terminology of cyberpunk, there is another language gap that must be addressed. This is an Italian film, and being 1997, dubbing is not necessarily its strong suit. Don't get me wrong, most of the actors seem to dub their own performances, and they all do an excellent job of injecting emotion and energy into their work. But it is difficult to keep all of the meaning in a piece through the process of translation. In a film that gets as thinky and potentially esoteric as Nirvana, these problems can easily become more pronounced. I have happily watched this film 5 times so far, and every time I have found new things to explore, and I have put more pieces of the puzzle together. This is a bit of a backhanded compliment, sadly, because I would have definitely put everything together much more quickly if I was free of the odd gaps and misunderstandings that even the best translation and dubbing can lead to. This film made an exceptionally smart choice about its dubbing, however, when it decided to ignore the characters' lip movements by and large. There is still enough syncing that you can tell who is talking when, but it does sometimes look like a cheap anime dub. I say this is a smart choice because it allowed them more freedom in their translation. However, it did make it slightly disconcerting to watch.
You went for a walk in the desert. When you came back, the sun was still low. The room was pink. And your story about the coyote. It's ridiculous. They never lived here.
Look, we've been through this before. If I say I saw a coyote in the desert, it's because I saw it, but you don't understand. You can't understand. Forget it. Wild side.
The actors all brought their A game, and the scenery, lighting, and costuming are all sublime. When you compare this film with the likes of Johnny Mnemonic, which came out only 2 years earlier, well, just look at these clips. This all conveys how gorgeous the film is, but it is difficult to really highlight what a wonderful job the performers do with their body language. There are a few moments in this film where Christopher Lambert's thundering, decapitatingly powerful performance really hits home.
There can be only one.
And it is his performance, in large part, that really serves to immortalize the piece.
This only covers a fraction of what the film has to offer. We didn't touch on most of it. I mean, there's a ton more stuff, like this guy
is illegal, because it settles inside your nervous system. Really, it's a fact. You lose your skin, it gets scaly and repelling. You look like a leper, but it's worth it.
Or this guy.
Your cran chip is so funny you couldn't buy a glass of water. And now, your tank is full with a mixture of acid, sulfuric, and cyanic. And now, get out of here.
Or this.
I am Light Transport Unit Marianne. Back off, you bastards, or I'll blast you.
Or this.
I'm an authorized sexual stimulator. My chip's in order. Ah!
Or this.
This is my meditation hour. Assholes.
And of course, you gotta talk about this fucking guy.
You're looking at colleague Okasama Star Games, company psychologist. We feel there is something the matter.
No, Jimmy-san, I am your friend. Okasama Star is your family. Get up.
Let's get out of here. How did you make out with that psychopathic Thai girl? Was she as good as they said?
No, a degenerate. Degenerate! I was assaulted by a bunch of perverts. I can't close my eyes, Jimmy-san, with those atrocities printed in my memory. I will do company therapy.
But we're going to leave the rest for you to hopefully find out. You know, love it or hate it, this is a film that really deserves to be remembered. Now get me the hell out of here, Aiden!
Watch it. I can crash your whole board from here, man.
Johnny, don't. That's my livelihood.
What?
Get up, Aiden. We have work to do.
borders. World War IV, U.S. Civil War 2027. Made in USA, prints in China's Tupperware. North Korea somehow destroys itself.